I've talked about my journal in almost every single video this year, so I think it's about time I peel open the pages and show you the super simple setup that I use that helps me stay on track with my personal and business goals. My journal helps me keep track of all of the important things that happened every single day. It helps me keep track of my goals, my habits, but most importantly, it gets all of that out of my head so that I can totally give my attention to what actually needs it. Not to mention that my future self is going to love having this sort of physical archive of everything that happened throughout the year. I also write these annual review posts on my blog, and every single year at the end, I'm just sat there thinking, what even happened throughout the year? It goes by so fast, it's like a blur, and I can't remember all of the big things or even the little things that happened. So having this journal, I'm just going to be thanking myself at the end of the year. And again, just my future self is going to love looking back at this. And I can't tell you how many times, and it's 4 months now into the year, how many times I've already gone back and referenced things that either happened or referencing goals and those sort of things or tasks. It's been so helpful for me. My problem with journaling in the past has been just how long or tedious it is to keep up with it. So for me, I need a super simple, bare bones setup where I can just manage this like within minutes every single day. And I have found that setup. And I have to give big credit to Matt Ragland, who has basically taken the traditional bullet journal setup and completely stripped it down to the bare minimum. And I pulled a lot of inspiration from his layout and did a little bit of tweaking of my own for what I feel like works for me. So I'm going to leave a link to his video below if you want to check that out for even more inspiration. It's really good, it's really thorough, and I have to give credit where credit is due. And while I was setting up my journal, I kept trying to find resources for what are the best tools to use, what journal should I use, what writing tool should I use, and it took me so long to kind of find these things. So before I jump into the actual setup, I just want to quickly show you what I use so you know what works for me, so maybe it'll just help save you a ton of time and research. So this is my journal. It's a Baron Fig Confidant. It is the dot grid notebook. For me, that is the best of both worlds, where it gives me an idea where I can write in straight lines, but also gives me the freedom to sketch and draw when needed. And then my wife Anita got me this really rad leather sleeve for my notebook. It's an exclusive Ashen Fur product from Bespoke Post. It's just like the perfect little personal natural touch to the notebook. And for my writing tools, I have found the Pilot G2 pen to be the smoothest. It's a fine tip so you can write real small, and I haven't had one like just die on me in the middle of writing where I have to go back and rewrite like I do with some cheap pens. So this has just been the best pen I've used, and it doesn't bleed through the pages. And then to give the layout a little bit of hierarchy, I use these flare tip markers. It's also a fine point, but it gives the writing a little bit of boldness so I can kind of tell what is the layout from just what my sort of general logging is with the pen. With all that out of the way, now let's dive into the journal setup. So opening up my journal, I just have a little title page here. With my specific layout, I can probably fit a few years in the journal. So I started this on 2020. And then I just started it off with a simple index page. So, you know, a year or two from now, if I want to go back and reference a specific month, I can just do that with a quick glance. And I also left a little reference for how many dots are here horizontally and vertically, 24 and 36. And then I have a simple key for how I kind of keep track of my notes, how tasks are, what happens when I complete them. I put a slash to them if I cancel it, do an arrow if I need to move that task into the next month or next week. And then I have a page here just to get my annual goals out of my head. I did a whole video on what my goals are for this year, which I'll link in a card that you can go watch if you want. And this will be really interesting to look back on a few years from now to see kind of what goals I accomplished, maybe how my goals shifted or pivoted. And then I handwrite all of the page numbers. That doesn't come with page numbers. So as I use the pages, I write them in. I don't just go through and write every single page number right off the bat. So as I use it, I write that in. All right, so let's jump to, I'm gonna use February as an example, to the actual setup of my journal. So I use 2 full spreads for my journal, so just 4 pages. So on the first page here, I start with, of course, the month and year, and then I just list out every single day of the month, followed by the first letter of the day of the week. And I dedicate this whole page here to basically what is just a one-line journal. Pretty much a lot of highlights that happen. I tend to use it a lot more for my personal highlights. I have a 9-month-old daughter now, so every day feels like something new is happening. And so this is just a fun way where I keep track of that. But like you can see here at the beginning of February, there's a lot of work going on, which kind of burnt me out. And then I list out with my flare tip marker, big appointments that are happening or holidays that are going on for the month. So as the day goes on, I might write in something that's happened, or the next day I'll go back and fill in just kind of what happened. Sometimes it's just sort of mundane things that I do with the family that I just kind of want to remember. It's just for fun. And I try not to leave a day blank. So even if nothing happened, I will pick the most mundane thing that was the highlight of the day and I will write it down here. And with my specific client work, it's so sporadic and all over the place that I don't really write in what projects I was working on because I'm just bouncing from project to project every single day and it varies. So I don't really leave that stuff in here. This is just, again, for a lot of highlights for the day. I do write down work highlights or, again, personal highlights or milestones. Then on the second page here, I keep track of my habits, my moods, and then what my monthly goals are for work and personal. So right now, some habits I've been wanting to track is reading, exercising, and sharing, mostly posting to Instagram. So you can see like my monthly goal was to Instagram once a week. That's how I can help keep myself accountable for that. I wanted to make a creative market product, which I wasn't able to get to, so I migrated that to the next month. And then I had one work goal of uploading a new video, which was the video on how I managed my client projects. And I have learned that it's best to kind of set the bar low. That way, it's much better when you actually accomplish your goals rather than stacking on so many habits and goals and then failing at them. It can be discouraging. Like if I wanted to do more workouts, I would add in workout once a week. And if I get an extra workout, that's great. But if I don't work out and fail, I'm not gonna be super discouraged. But then when I meet that small goal, I can then up it for the next month. So you can tell I pretty much slacked on exercising this month, but I made it the goal to work those in even more for the following month. This is just sort of me getting used to using this journal. And it's weird doing the mood tracking, or at least I thought it was weird. I always thought, what is the purpose of tracking my mood? But it's actually been pretty useful. If I can have the dashes where I'm feeling a little meh in the morning or evenings, and if it's a reoccurring thing, I can actually take notice of that. Having this tracker here is kind of like having a bird eye view on how I'm feeling. So if I'm constantly having a meh kind of morning or evening, I know that there's something that needs to be adjusted. So I've actually liked tracking my AM and PM mood, of kind of how I'm feeling, and it kind of shows when I'm falling into ruts with stuff, or just when it's just an average good day, which looks like happily I've had a really good month of February. So this page here is pretty much the monthly goals and then the full daily journaling of tracking everything. And the next spread here is where I have my weekly breakdown along with my brain dump. So I will take these monthly goals, so like uploading the video or Instagramming once a week, and I will break that down here in the week. So every single week you see that I have a task for uploading to Instagram. And for my video, I had to record the talking portion of it. I couldn't get to the B-roll aspect of the video, so I moved that to the next week. And then I had to edit the video, upload the video. So breaking up these goals is actually making me achieve them. And again, having this stuff sitting in front of me every day in this journal is a constant reminder of what I need to do that week. And then I put these tasks onto my daily to-do list. Again, I covered how I manage those projects and what my to-do list looks like every day in my last video. So again, I will link to that if you want to watch it. And something that's actually not here on this month are sometimes I'll take notes that are super important to remember, or things that are very relevant to that week, where I'll just have a dash with my note or like an asterisk with an important reminder of something. But it just so happens that this month I didn't have any of that. But that's where I would also put those sort of things in this weekly breakdown. And then for me, I always love the idea of wondering how many designs I did in a year. So I started tracking how many designs I get approved. For me, I do merchandise. Not all of these are just t-shirts. A lot of it can be hats or like a bandana or a mug. So it's all these little merchandise items. So whenever I get paid for a completed design, I do a little tally here and then I total it up. So at the end of the year, I know how many designs I got paid for, which is just kind of a cool statistic that I want to keep track of. And finally here, I have just sort of the brain dump. So I just sort of scribble a bunch of random things here. If I'm like, just mindlessly watching an online course or on the phone. And then I keep track of random notes. Like for coming up some merch ideas, I know that here are some cool websites where I can get stickers done, pins done. And this is just a way for me to get these random ideas and things out of my head. And when I want to remember something, it's the worst when you're sitting there like, crap, what was that website for making stickers? Getting these things out of my head and onto here just helps keep my mind clear. And that's the basic spread. So again, I have just the one page for one-line journaling, a page for tracking my daily habits, my daily mood for the morning and evening, my monthly goals, which I then break into my weekly goals. Then I have the tally for how much work I'm getting approved, and a whole page dedicated to just throwing out random ideas, resources I want to keep track of, just doodling random things. And then at the end of the month, I flip to the next page, number it, and I lay that out, which you will see here shortly at the end of this video. That's my super simple layout, and it works for me because I've been sticking with it every single day this year. It takes me less than a minute to fill it out, to track my habits and the goals and things, and actually writing them out makes it feel like a commitment. Rather than have these ideas and goals floating around in my mind, when I put it on paper, this is me physically committing to it. And this is how I'm able to actually focus on those tasks and accomplish the goals. Not to mention how satisfying it is to physically cross out a task when you accomplish it rather than having to click it on the computer. And also this sits in front of me on my desk as a reminder to those commitments. So I don't have to pull up an app or go through the tabs in my browser. It's sitting in front of me and I know what I need to do. Now I'm going to end this video with a little time lapse of me setting up next month's layout. But before that, I would love to know in the comments below, have you tried journaling? I would love to know any tips that you might have. And I'd actually really be interested in knowing what are the things that you love to keep track of. Also, if you have any questions about any of this, the layout, the tools I use, whatever, don't hesitate to ask. I'm an open book. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you've gotten this far, give the video a thumbs up. And if you aren't already, subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. It really does help. All right, so with all that said, we're gonna jump into the time lapse of setting up next month's layout. And then after that, we're gonna get back to work.